Hey, everyone, and welcome to this deep dive all about AI. We're going to be looking at how AI went from, just an idea to these crazy complex systems that can do all kinds of things like write poems or, diagnose diseases or even beat world champions at strategy games.
That's wild.
It is wild.
Yeah.
And here's a crazy thing to think about.
Okay.
Our human brains, with all their complex thought, they run on something like 20 watts of energy.
Wow.
But some of these AI systems, they use as much power as a small city.
That's a crazy contrast.
It is. So let's kind of unpack how we got here and, what this all means for the future.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's rewind all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
When did humans start, dreaming up intelligent machines?
Well, I mean, you could say it goes as far back as ancient myths.
Oh, really?
Like the story of Talos.
Talos.
Yeah, the giant bronze automaton in Greek mythology that protected Crete.
Oh, right.
But the real groundwork for AI began much later in 1943.
Okay.
With McCulloch and Pitt's work.
McCulloch and Pitts.
Yeah, they worked on neural networks.
Neural networks.
Which are basically the foundation for a lot of modern AI.
I always hear that term, neural networks.
Yeah.
But I'm still not sure I completely get it.
So imagine a web, a really complex web of interconnected points.
Okay.
Each point is like a little processing unit.
Yeah.
And the connections between them, they can change based on the data the network gets.
I see.
It's kind of like training a bunch of specialists.
Okay.
Each one is responsible for this tiny little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But they all work together to solve the bigger problem.
So by tweaking those connections between the points,
yeah,
we're teaching the network to learn from data.
Exactly.
Cool.
And it was at the Dartmouth Conference in 1956
Wait.
that we officially got the term artificial intelligence.
Oh, really?
Researchers wanted to build machines that could think like humans.
Wow.
But things back then were a lot more basic. Early AI had a ton of potential, but it really struggled to do everything it promised.
So when did things really start to change?
Well, the 2000s were a big turning point.
The 2000s?
Yeah, there were 3 major advancements that all came together to unlock AI's true potential.
What were they?
First, processing power got way better.
How so?
Particularly with GPUs.
GPUs?
Yeah, they're those powerful computer chips that were originally meant for things like video games.
Oh, so the things that make the graphics so good in games.
Exactly. But it turns out they're also perfect for the crazy amount of calculations needed for AI.
So the same chips that make those stunning landscapes in video games are crunching data for AI now.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
The second big advancement was the explosion of big data.
Big data?
Yeah, all that digital info we make every day just by being online.
It's kind of scary how much data we make without even realizing it.
I know, right? And all that data became the fuel for these machine learning algorithms.
I see. So what was the third advancement?
Deep learning.
Deep learning.
Basically, it's like making those neural networks even more complex.
Okay.
They have all these different layers.
Like layers of a cake?
Kinda. They mimic different parts of the human brain.
Oh, wow.
This let AI do more difficult tasks.
Like what?
Things like image recognition and natural language processing.
I see. So deep learning is giving neural networks a super upgrade.
Yeah, you could say that.
And that led to some pretty amazing breakthroughs.
It did.
Like GPT.
Yeah. GPT.
That AI that can write poems and code.
Right. It almost seems human.
It does. It's kind of freaky.
GPT, or Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Okay.
It's like a super advanced autocorrect.
Okay.
It's trained on tons of text and code, so it learns to predict what word comes next.
So if I type the quick brown, it'll notice a fox.
Exactly. But what's really wild is the scale.
The scale.
Yeah, GPT-4, which is the newest one.
Okay.
It has 175 billion parameters.
175 billion.
Yeah, those are the things that fine-tune its predictions.
Wow. That's way more than the number of neurons in the human brain.
It's almost double.
So does that mean GPT is smarter than us?
Well, it's not that simple. Even though the scale is impressive.
Yeah.
A single neuron in our brains is way more complex than one of those parameters in GPT.
Right.
But GPT's ability to write stuff that actually makes sense, even creative stuff,
Yeah.
it's a huge step forward in AI.
It really is. Okay, so GPT is like a language whiz.
Mm-hmm.
But AI can do more than just language, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What about things like strategy and stuff?
Well, that's where AlphaGo comes in.
AlphaGo?
In 2016, it beat a world champion Go player.
Really?
Go is this super old board game.
Okay.
But it's crazy complex.
How complex?
There are more possible moves in Go than there are atoms in the whole universe.
No way.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
So did AlphaGo just, like, calculate all the possibilities and win that way?
No, not really. It's more than that.
How so?
AlphaGo learned by studying millions of human games, and then it played against itself to get even better.
Interesting.
It actually developed its own style.
Its own style?
Yeah, a style that even the experts had never seen before.
So it wasn't just calculating.
No.
It was learning to think strategically.
Exactly. Like a human player.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. And it makes you wonder what else AI might be able to do.
If it can master something as complex as Go,
Right.
what else is it capable of?
And that leads us to another area where AI is making a big impact.
What's that?
Deepfakes?
Deepfakes. Yeah, I've seen those.
They're AI-generated videos that can make anyone look like they're saying or doing anything.
They're so realistic. It's getting harder and harder to know what's real online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they've already been used to spread lies and manipulate people.
Yeah, that's scary.
And the tech is only getting better.
So what happens when we can't even trust what we see with our own eyes?
It's a big question. It makes you think about what truth even means in a digital age.
It's like we're on the verge of a truth crisis.
Yeah, maybe. But let's step back for a second and think about something else.
What's that?
Our human need to connect with AI.
Connect with it.
Yeah. Think about Eliza.
Eliza.
It was the first chatbot developed back in 1966.
Wow, this is a long time ago.
It was super simple.
What did it do?
Basically, it just rephrased whatever you said as a question.
So it wasn't really intelligent.
Not really. More like a clever trick.
Okay.
But here's the thing. People loved it.
Really?
They told it their deepest secrets.
Why would they do that?
It shows how much we want to connect with something.
Even if it's a machine?
Even if it's a machine. And that brings us back to the energy problem.
The fact that AI uses so much energy.
Right. As AI gets more complex and powerful, it needs more and more energy.
That makes sense.
Some experts think that by 2025, AI could use more energy than entire countries.
Whoa. That's crazy.
It could be a huge problem for the environment if we don't figure out how to make it more sustainable.
Yeah, it's like this tension.
The tension.
Yeah, between how amazing AI is and the resources it needs to work.
That's a good way to put it.
This is all really thought-provoking.
It is.
It feels like AI is making us ask some really big questions.
Definitely.
About intelligence and truth.
Right.
And our place in the world.
Yeah, some really fundamental questions.
But before we go too deep into all that,
okay,
I want to talk about some specific areas where AI is already having a big impact.
Sure.
Especially its growing autonomy.
Autonomy.
Yeah. And the ethics of all that.
Right, right.
It's mind-blowing to think that machines are making decisions that affect our lives.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So where do we even start with trying to figure out the ethics of all this?
We have to start by acknowledging that AI isn't some neutral thing.
Okay.
It's shaped by the people who create it.
So if those people are driven by profit or whatever, their biases could end up in the technology itself.
Exactly.
That's scary.
Imagine an AI system that's supposed to maximize profits for a company. It might decide to cut costs, even if it means putting workers in danger.
Oh, wow. Or hurting the environment.
Right. It's like we could be creating systems that make our problems even worse.
Yeah, instead of helping us solve them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so important to have lots of different voices involved in AI development.
Like who?
Ethicists, social scientists, philosophers, and just regular people from all walks of life.
I see.
We need all those different viewpoints to help guide AI in a better direction.
So it's not just about the tech itself.
Nope.
But about the human values that we want to see reflected in it.
Exactly.
We have to ask ourselves, what kind of future do we want to build with AI?
That's the big question.
And how do we make sure this technology serves everyone, not just a select few?
It's a challenge, but it's one we need to face head on.
I agree. But, part of me still wonders if we're getting ahead of ourselves.
How so?
With all this talk about the singularity.
Oh, the singularity.
The idea that AI will become smarter than humans. Is that something we actually need to worry about right now?
Well, it's hard to say for sure what the future holds.
Right.
But some very smart people think the singularity is a real possibility.
Really?
Maybe even inevitable.
Wow. So what happens if AI does become super intelligent?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Do we end up in a utopia where AI guides us to a perfect future?
Or is it more likely that AI sees us as obsolete?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I wish I had a crystal ball.
Me too.
You.
But I guess that's why these conversations are so important.
Yeah.
While we still have time to shape the future of AI.
Exactly. It's not just about preventing some robot takeover.
Right.
It's about making sure AI helps us build a better world for everyone.
A great way to put it.
And that means thinking about the ethics of every decision we make.
Every decision.
Yeah, from the algorithms we design to the data we use to train these systems.
It's a lot to consider.
It is, but it is worth it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential risks of AI, but what about the potential benefits?
Oh, there are tons of potential benefits.
Like what?
Imagine AI systems that can help us cure diseases.
Cure diseases?
Yeah, or fight climate change.
Wow, that would be incredible.
It could even help us create a fairer economy.
Those are some pretty ambitious goals.
They are. But AI has the potential to make a real difference.
I hope so. But we have to make sure everyone benefits from it.
You're right about that.
We can't let AI just make the rich richer and the poor poorer.
Absolutely. We have to be very careful about how we develop and use this technology.
So it's not just about the tech itself.
Right.
But about how it shapes our world.
And our lives.
Yeah. It's a huge responsibility.
It is.
This has been a really insightful conversation.
Thanks.
It's clear that AI isn't just a tech issue.
It's more than that.
It's a societal issue, a philosophical issue,
Mm-hmm.
a human issue.
I agree.
It makes us think about what it even means to be human.
That's deep.
But before we get too lost in all that,
Okay.
I want to talk about some more practical stuff. You mentioned AI could solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'm really curious to hear what a future powered by AI for good might look like.
Me too. There's so much potential there.
I can't wait to hear all about it.
Let's take a quick break, though, and then we can dive into the hopeful possibilities of AI for good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle this next part of the AI puzzle. The ethical stuff.
Right.
It's just mind-blowing to think about, machines making decisions that could change our lives in such huge ways.
That's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is. Where do we even start with, untangling all these ethical knots?
I think the first step is just admitting that AI isn't like this neutral force.
What do you mean?
It doesn't just exist in a vacuum,
Okay.
It's shaped by the people who make it.
Right, by their values and their priorities and all that.
Exactly. So if those developers are all about profit or putting efficiency above everything else, those biases can get baked right into the technology.
That's a scary thought.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, imagine an AI that's designed to make as much money as possible for a company.
Okay.
It might prioritize cutting costs.
Yeah.
Even if that means ignoring worker safety or damaging the environment.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's not. So that's why it's so crucial to have all kinds of different people involved in making AI.
Like who?
Not just programmers and tech people.
Okay.
We need ethicists and social scientists, philosophers even.
Wow.
And just regular people from all walks of life.
I see. So we need all those different perspectives to make sure AI is actually used for good.
Right. To challenge those assumptions and biases that can sneak in.
So it's not just about the tech wizardry then.
Nope.
It's about making sure that tech reflects human values.
Exactly.
We need to be asking ourselves what kind of future we actually want to build with AI, and how do we guarantee that this technology benefits everyone?
Those are the big questions.
They are. But I got to admit.
What's that?
Part of me still thinks maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
What do you mean?
All this talk about the singularity and AI becoming smarter than humans.
Yeah.
Is that really something we should be worried about right now?
Well, it's tough to predict the future. But some really brilliant people think the singularity is a real possibility.
Like, it could actually happen.
They think it's not a matter of if, but when.
Wow. Okay, so let's say it does happen.
Let's say AI does become super intelligent.
Yeah. What then?
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
Do we get a utopia where AI solves all our problems?
Or do we get the Terminator scenario?
Yeah.
The machines take over.
I mean, nobody really knows, right?
Nobody knows for sure.
But that's why it's so important to be having these conversations now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we can still influence how AI develops.
Right. It's not just about stopping some robot apocalypse.
It's bigger than that.
It's about making sure AI helps us build a better world.
For everyone.
Yeah.
Not just a select few. That's a good point. So we have to think about the ethics of everything we do with AI, from the algorithms we write to the data we use to train these systems.
Every step of the way.
It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, but it's also exciting.
I guess so. Okay, so we've talked about the potential risks of AI.
We have.
But what about the good stuff?
The potential benefits.
Yeah. You said AI could help solve some of the world's biggest problems.
I did. And I believe it.
Give me some examples.
Imagine AI helping us develop new medicines.
Like cures for diseases that we can't cure now.
Exactly. Or helping us fight climate change.
How can AI do that?
By making our energy systems more efficient.
Okay.
Or by designing smarter transportation systems.
So less pollution.
Yeah. And AI could even help us create a more just and equitable economy.
Wow, those are some big goals.
They are. But I think they're achievable.
I hope you're right. But there's got to be a catch, right?
There's always a catch.
We have to make sure that everyone benefits from AI.
You're right.
Not just the wealthy and powerful.
It's crucial that we don't let AI worsen the inequalities that already exist.
So it's not just about developing cool new AI tech.
It's about using that tech responsibly.
To create a better world for all.
Exactly. A world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
But how do we actually make that happen?
Well, there are a lot of things we can do.
Like what?
For starters, we need to be more transparent about how AI works. People need to understand the algorithms and how they're making decisions.
So no more black boxes where data goes in and decisions come out.
Yeah, no more hiding behind complexity.
We need to be able to see what's happening.
Exactly. Transparency is key for building trust.
And we also need to tackle the bias problem.
We talked about that before, how biases can get baked into AI.
Right. But how do we actually prevent that from happening?
It starts with the data.
The data that we use to train AI.
Yeah, if the data is biased, then the AI will be biased too.
That makes sense.
So we need to make sure that the data sets are diverse and representative.
So AI learns from all sorts of different perspectives.
Right, not just a narrow slice of humanity.
And we also need to find ways to get rid of bias in the algorithms themselves.
That's the tricky part.
It sounds really hard.
It is. But it's crucial if we want AI that's fair and just for everyone.
Okay, so transparency and bias mitigation are important. What else can we do?
We need to establish clear ethical guidelines for AI.
Like rules for how it's developed and used.
Exactly. A set of principles that everyone involved in AI can agree on.
From developers to policymakers.
Right. And those guidelines need to cover all sorts of issues.
Like privacy and security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the impact of AI on jobs and the social fabric of society.
It's not just about the tech.
No, it's about how that tech shapes our world.
This is really making me think.
Good.
It's clear that we all have a responsibility here.
We do.
To make sure that AI is used for good.
Absolutely. The future of AI is not set in stone.
Meaning?
It's a future that we're all creating together.
Through the choices we make and the actions we take.
Exactly. We can't just sit back and let it happen.
We have to be active participants in shaping this future.
I agree. And I think that's a really empowering message.
It is. This whole conversation has been really eye-opening.
I'm glad.
It's made me realize that AI isn't just some abstract thing.
It's not.
It's something that's already affecting our lives in profound ways.
And it's only going to become more important in the future.
You're right. But before we get too philosophical,
Okay.
I want to come back to something you mentioned earlier.
What's that?
The idea that AI could actually help us solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Ah, yes. The potential for good.
Can we talk more about that?
I'd love to.
I'm really curious to explore what that kind of future might look like.
A future powered by AI for good.
Yeah, that sounds pretty amazing.
It does, doesn't it?
Let's take a second to kind of gather our thoughts, though.
Okay.
And then we can dive into all those hopeful possibilities.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into this whole idea of AI for good. You mentioned that AI could help us, solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Right.
I'm really curious to hear more about that. Like, where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with healthcare.
Okay.
AI is already being used to analyze medical images,
Yeah.
diagnose diseases,
I've heard about that.
even personalized treatment plans.
It's pretty amazing.
Imagine AI that can detect cancer way earlier than we can now.
That would be incredible.
It could lead to faster treatment and better outcomes.
And I've heard about AI tools that can spot things in medical scans.
Yeah.
Things that human doctors might miss.
It's pretty remarkable.
It is. So that leads to earlier diagnosis
Right.
and more effective treatments.
Exactly. And that's just the beginning.
Really?
AI could also help us predict outbreaks of infectious diseases.
Oh, wow. Like getting ahead of pandemics.
Yeah, potentially. And even develop personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine.
Tailoring treatments to an individual's genes and lifestyle.
So it's like having this super smart medical assistant.
Yeah, kind of.
Working behind the scenes to keep us healthy.
That's a good way to think about it.
What other areas could AI help with?
Well, climate change is a big one.
Okay.
AI could help us optimize energy grids.
Make them more efficient.
Yeah, so we rely less on fossil fuels.
Right. That makes sense.
And AI could help us design smarter transportation systems, too.
So less traffic and less pollution.
Exactly. It's all about making our world more sustainable.
So AI could really play a key role in fighting climate change.
I think so. It has that potential.
What about social and economic issues?
AI could help there, too.
How so?
Well, it could help us design smarter cities.
Smarter cities?
Yeah. Think about better urban planning and infrastructure.
Okay.
So people have a better quality of life.
Hey, what about education?
AI could personalize education.
How would that work?
Tailoring the learning experience to each student's needs.
That would be amazing.
It could help everyone reach their full potential.
It sounds like AI has the potential to really make the world a better place.
It does. But there's a catch.
Oh, there's always a catch.
We have to make sure that everyone benefits from AI.
Not just a select few.
Exactly. We can't let AI make inequality worse.
So it's not just about developing cool new AI tools.
Right.
It's about using those tools to create a fairer and more sustainable world for everyone.
That's the goal.
I like that. But how do we actually make sure that happens?
Well, one important step is education.
Education.
The more people understand about AI,
Right.
the better equipped they'll be to make informed decisions about it.
So we can't just ignore it and hope for the best.
No, we have to engage with it.
And learn about it.
Yeah, we need to demystify AI.
Make it less scary and confusing.
Exactly, and we need to have open and honest conversations about it.
Conversations about the benefits and the risks.
Right, and the potential impact on society.
And those conversations need to involve everyone.
Not just the tech experts.
Yeah, we need perspectives from all walks of life.
Exactly. It's about creating a shared vision for the future of AI.
A vision that reflects our values as a society.
That's a good way to put it.
And we need to support the people and organizations who are working to make that vision a reality.
You mean the folks who are promoting responsible AI development?
Yeah, the ones who are focusing on ethics and bias mitigation.
Right. They're doing really important work.
And we need to hold the people who are making and using AI accountable.
Accountable for what?
For making sure AI is used ethically.
And for the benefit of humanity.
Not just for profit.
Exactly. It's about making sure that AI serves us.
Not the other way around.
I like that. It's like we're all shareholders in the future of AI.
And we have a right to have a say in how it's developed.
We can't just be passive observers.
We have to shape this future together.
I agree.
This whole conversation has been incredibly insightful.
I'm glad you think so.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of AI now.
That's great to hear.
And the challenges and opportunities that come with it.
It's definitely a complex landscape.
It is. But I'm also feeling a sense of hope.
Hope.
Yeah. Hope that we can harness the power of AI for good.
I think that's the key.
To make the world a better place for everyone.
I believe we can do it.
I do too.
Oh.
But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
What's that?
We've talked a lot about AI becoming smarter than humans.
The singularity and all that.
Right. But what if the real danger isn't AI getting too smart,
Okay.
but us getting too complacent?
Complacent.
Yeah. Like, what if we become so reliant on AI
Yeah.
that we lose our own ability to think critically and be creative?
And be compassionate.
Right. What happens to our sense of purpose in a world where machines can do everything better than us?
That's a deep question.
It is.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answer,
Me neither.
but it's something we all need to think about.
As we move into this future with AI,
It's not just about the tech.
it's about us.
It's about who we want to be as humans.
in a world that's increasingly shaped by intelligent machines.
Well said. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure.
Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep imagining the future you want to create.
That's great advice.
Until next time, everyone.